is coming up next, and then in 10 minutes at 9 o'clock, it's the BBC News Hour on WNYC. Let's check in with London and see what they're working on. Hello, London.
Good morning, WNYC. I'm Nuala McGovern. On today's News Hour, we'll hear whether Prime Minister Narendra Modi's digital dream has been realised for India's voters. Also, how difficult is it to find 12 impartial jurors for former President Donald Trump's trial in New York? That's BBC News Hour coming up at 9 on WNYC.
A crystal clear blue sky with sunshine, bright sunshine this morning. 58 right now in the city. On the way to a high of 70 with more sunshine and gusty. Tomorrow we have a slim chance of some afternoon showers. Slim chance and a high of 61. Again, 58 now with sunshine. It's 8:51.
WNYC supporters include Random House, publisher of Hanif Abdurraqib's new book, There's Always This Year, on basketball and ascension, a reflection on basketball, life, and home. There's Always This Year by Hanif Abdurraqib is available now wherever books are sold. Join New York Public Radio's Community Advisory Board and help determine how to meet the needs of WNYC and WQXR listeners. Apply by Tuesday, April 23rd. Details at 646-829-4000 or wnyc.org/CAB.
On the next Fresh Air, writer Salman Rushdie talks about the knife attack while he was on stage. The doctors didn't expect him to survive. This was 33 years after Iran's Ayatollah Khomeini issued a fatwa, a religious ruling calling for Rushdie's death as punishment for his book, The Satanic Verses. Rushdie's new book is called Knife. Join us. Weekdays at 2 on 93.9 FM, AM 820, or live stream it at WNYC.org.
Is a system to tell landlords how much to charge for rent illegal?
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Schwab, helping people invest in ideas they believe in with Schwab investing themes, with more than 40 themes to choose from. More at schwab.com.
I'm David Brancaccio in New York. If you want to sell a stock, you check the market price on a screen to get the going rate. What if you're a landlord looking to rent an apartment? There's a company for that called RealPage, where landlords sign up to get rental pricing data, but is that illegal collusion? RealPage has been hit with lawsuits in Arizona and Washington, D.C. Marketplace's Matt Levin reports.
Big corporate landlords provide RealPage with data you can't just see on Zillow. For example, the rent a tenant actually pays versus what's advertised publicly. In return, RealPage's algorithm says, hey, that two-bed apartment with off-street parking you got, here's what you should charge for it based on what everyone else is charging. University of Wisconsin law professor Peter Karstensen says RealPage is basically a cartel enabler.
That information exchange in and of itself, that's an agreement in restraint of trade.
Arizona and Washington, D.C. have sued RealPage and the landlords that use it for wide-scale rent fixing. RealPage did not respond to a request for comment. In public statements, the company says lawsuits misunderstand its algorithm. Shanti Singh at the advocacy group Tenants Together says renters lose bargaining power when a secret algorithm sets the price.
The lack of transparency encourages rents to spiral upwards.
Two landlords accused in a class action suit of using RealPage to inflate rents have recently settled those claims. I'm Matt Levin for Marketplace.
An upside surprise for China's economy, with news today that gross domestic product there grew 5.3% in the 12 months through March. Beijing has been spending heavily to boost high-tech manufacturing and building infrastructure to try to pull the country out of the doldrums. But retail spending by consumers still running soft, plus real estate is still in a precarious state there. Here, market screens show me S&P futures are up 0.25%. NASDAQ futures up 0.2%. Stock in former President Trump's social media company ended yesterday at $26.61 on a drop of 18%. Trump Media and Technology Group came into this world the other week at about $50 a share. Here's Marketplace's Novo Safo.
In its filing yesterday, Trump Media and Technology Group said the issuance of more shares was not a certainty, but the SEC filing does mean early investors can exercise what are known as stock warrants. If they do so, that would lead to more shares being issued, which would dilute the stock price. The company said former President Trump and other key players are still subject to a 6-month lockup period that prevents them from selling shares. Trump Media went public on March 26th by merging with a special purpose acquisition company, a SPAC. Post-merger, the company was initially valued at about $8 billion. It's now worth about $3.5 billion. That is a relatively typical loss for companies taken public through SPAC deals. They tend to underperform the stock market at large, especially after initial investor euphoria ends. Trump Media shares first plunged at the beginning of the month when the company disclosed that it lost more than $58 million last year and said it would struggle to pay its debts as they come due. I'm Nova Safo for Marketplace.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by C3 Generative AI. C3 Generative AI enables rapid access to secure, traceable, hallucination-free insights from enterprises' systems, all while using any LLM, helping enterprises turn the invisible into the obvious. Learn more at c3.ai. And by Baird. Baird strives to attract and retain top financial talent, providing stability and continuity for clients. More at BairdDifference.com.
Now to how living with debt can change your life even when the debt is paid off. A perspective this morning on financial insecurity from an essayist and social critic who wasn't even sure it was right to buy himself a pair of nice sneakers even when he had the money. Michael Arceneaux's new book is called I Finally Bought Some Jordans. We connected to talk about the psychological interest payments that linger. Mr. Arceneaux, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
Part of this is about emotional debt, but let's start with the money debt. You don't come from money, and you ended up with, what, student loan debt?
I had private student loan debt, which is a very particular type of debt, impacting lots of Americans, but particularly like Black college graduates. And I had a 6-figure debt that essentially required me to pay close to anywhere from $800 to $1,200 a month for like a little over a decade.
But you paid it off, so, in theory, knock yourself out now. But what? You find that it still hangs on like some sort of haunting ghost.
It's hard to really escape it, but what I try to write about in the new book is finding ways to kind of remove more of that shame that I carry with me for a long time, and to really think about ways in which I can treat myself, but not really buy into, materialism or, again, shame.
So if a man wants to buy a pair of Jordans to put a stylish bounce in their step, and if he has enough money, he should buy a pair of Jordans, yet there's part of you saying don't do it. Where does that voice come from?
Truth be told, particularly for a lot of poor Black working class people, but particularly Black people, they've always been admonished since the 90s. Like, if you don't have enough, you don't deserve nice things in the way other people do. But with the psyche of debt and how much debt impacted every facet of my life, some of that really did bleed into me. So it became like this fear, like I can't treat myself. I have to worry about the next bill or the next crash or the next whatever's going to happen. And finally, I just gave myself a reprieve to I'm not exactly where I want to be, but I've done all right by myself. So me getting those J's was a nice way of saying, you're doing okay. So I encourage other people to do the same.
On this subject of the industry of psychological counseling, you've noted that industry is itself set up to be exclusionary.
I think generally speaking, Americans have difficulty going to that because by design, it's a privilege that a lot of people can't afford to access. And therapy itself, you have to pay for that usually. It's not cheap. So a lot of people who would benefit it from the most just don't have access to it. So I don't want to punish people for not turning to that route. It's just people are doing the best with what tools they have. Give them more tools if you want more people to go to therapy, Pay for my therapy. I'm kidding.
Michael Arceneaux, his latest book is a collection of essays entitled I Finally Bought Some Jordans. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our producers are James Graham, Naomi Rainey, Nick Perez, Ariana Rosas, Alex Schroeder, and Erica Soderstrom. Our senior producer is Meredith Garrettson-Morby. In New York, I'm David Brancaccio. It's the Marketplace Morning Report. 8 p.m., American Public Media.